Now, as the second speaker for Team Opposition, would like to first rebut the points proposed by the government, and second, present my argument. Now, I'd like to move on to my argument, to the rebuttal of the government side. We Team Opposition believe that it is responsibility that must be valued, as well as individual rights. And individual rights without responsibility, we believe, has less value because responsibility must always go with what people want. Because when there is a responsibility and when there is a desire, there must also be a responsibility in order for there to be a balance and the right decision to be made. Also, they have said that it costs too much and it is a waste of budget. However, as our first speaker has mentioned, a lot of resources are having to be spent anyway. No, thank you. Now, if we implement the system of volunteering, now, will we use less resources? No, as my partner pointed out, there needs to be compensation for these soldiers, and there needs to be extra money spent. Now, another question about the quality of these soldiers arise. Are these soldiers more prepared than the recruited people? No, because in our societies, the image of a soldier is not so high, and the people who are most able and who can do the best job do not apply and do not become soldiers. Now,
yes, upon which assumptions do you base that? Because in Japan, a lot of qualified people go to the army and serve as youthful volunteers.
Yes. Now, Team Government has mentioned that it is the international society. Now, Team Government is also proposing that Japan is an exception. Now, I will move on. No, thank you. Now, I will move on and explain exactly what I mean. Now, they said that quality must be valued in the 21st century. Quality? What quality? Better technology? Is that all? People need to control this technology. If people are more uneducated, because education brings them to make the right decisions at the right time, we believe that uneducated people are less able to make better decisions. No, thank you. To make better decisions. Now, also, we have another case, the United States and Switzerland. Switzerland is implementing a system of national conscription. Now, Switzerland and the United States the United States in comparison is using the volunteer system. Now, what is more effective? We hear in the media that the United States Army is vastly lacking in decision making, and they commit actions that should not be committed by a member of the armed forces. In contrast, Switzerland is known to be the most effective army in this entire planet, although there may be some other nations who can distribute. No, thank you. Now, moving on to my arguments. First, the national conscription enables the nation to build a larger sphere of influence, and more manpower, as I explained before, leads to a stronger army. Armed forces are one of the most fundamental and powerful columns supporting a nation. And this can exert pressure, and this can make these nations take better action when direct reply is necessary. Now, as we can see from the United States Navy and the United States Army and Air Force, what they're trying to do is position the army at the right right location so that they can exert influences. Now, we must realize that there needs to be a lot of qualified people to be stationed because irresponsible behavior will lose the trust and also the ability of these armies. Now, we can see that another case is the Cuban Missile Crisis. Why did the United States try desperately to stop? It is because the military was posing a serious threat, and this Russian military was not made of uncompetitive people who did it because they had no other job but to serve in the armed forces. Moving on to my second argument, the ability to take better actions in times of war for the entire citizens. The armed forces does not just teach to fight guns and shoot guns. What they teach is what to do in a war and the fundamental knowledge in decision-making during a wartime. This will lead into a quickly organized army of a large scale, such as that we can see from Switzerland. And trained reserve forces, are able to come to assistance in wartime. Now, as I mentioned reserve forces, they can do something more. They can inform other citizens what to do in the case of a wartime. They can tell them, they can assist them, they can guide them what to do in a wartime. So this means that since a greater portion of the population knows what to do, this nation will be able to prepare for what is coming up, a war, and what may be coming up. And to summarize my points, because it enables the nation to build a larger sphere of influence, and also it increases its ability to take better actions, I, as a second member of Team Opposition, strongly believe that the motion does not stand. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and Madam and Mr. Speakers. The team proposition proposes to end national conscription. To argue this, I will give two arguments for this. One of them shows that this motion is not meeting the objective of the motion, and the other is that the economy will suffer more. But before going on to my arguments, I would like to reboot some of the arguments that the opposition has made. The opposition has said over and over again that high schoolers, what they call uneducated people, cannot be professional soldiers. They say that professional soldiers need more than just to shoot and run well. However, ladies and gentlemen, and the people in the crowd who have been in the army, what do you learn first when you go into the army? Do we learn how to make decision making? Or do we start from being a corporal or a general who makes the decisions? No. The first thing we do and the first thing we learn is how to shoot a gun, which is very important, and shooting a gun, running well, physical abilities that is needed. And then after we learn all these no thank you, sir. After we learn all these basic needs, then we start learning decision making. But now let's think about decision making. No thank you, sir. Decision making. Do we need to be educational? Do we need a college level education? Do we need to learn algebra? Do we need to learn who wrote a famous poem? Do we need these knowledges to learn how to make a decision in armies? No. The most important thing in making a decision in army is how to make a strategic strategy for the whole nation.
Point of information.
Yes, sir.
You mentioned, your teammate has mentioned that we need an effective army, yet you're stressing the importance of physical ability. Do we only need physical ability for an effective army? Do we not need decision making and also other skills other than physical ability?
Although your point of information was over 15 seconds, I'll try to answer that. First of all, yes, physical abilities is one of the most crucial part of the army. And I am just stating that the part that where you say that uneducated person cannot be in the army, I'm just pointing out the part that you are generally assuming that people who have not received college level are really stupid. And going on to my arguments, this motion does not meet the objective. This motion is about guarding the nation more securely. It is about this objective is about making the nation more secure from foreign countries. However, as our team said, quality is much more important than quantity, and the opposition is ridiculously proposing that quantity is much more important. First of all, let's think about modern wars and ancient wars. In the ancient wars, as the opposition said, yes, numbers do matter. If you have a lot of number, you can beat the others very easily. However, in modern wars, that is not the case. In modern wars, what matters is technology, knowledge, intelligent data. That is what matters. For example, let us take the Gulf War, the war between the U.S. and Iraq. Well, if you think of it as a way, the Iraq forces the numbers did not match really. The difference between the numbers between the U.S. Army and the Iraqi Army did not differentiate too much. But the main difference between those armies was the fact that the U.S. Army were armed with superior technology, and they had data about how the Iraqi Army would move, so that they could foresee the Iraqi attacks more effectively. And this shows that quality is in fact much more important than quantity.
Sir?
Yes, sir.
But isn't it the federal government's responsibility to take actions on the quality of the military that they have?
I'm sorry, sir, I could understand that, but I'll go on to my second argument. The economy will suffer more. Everybody knows that we go to the army from 18 to 23. I'm not really sure about the numbers, but yes, we go at the age where we are most productive. The economy will suffer more because men, especially for example in Korea, they're spending 2 years in the army. They're spending 2 precious years in the army. Instead of doing nothing in the 2 years in the army, what they could do was they could make their knowledge, they could learn more about society, or they could learn more from college, they could learn more knowledge, and they could help the economy grow more. Also, they could buy more things and make the economy prosper. There are many things that could happen in the 2 years instead of spending idly in the army. So to sum him up, the proposition thinks that the motion should stand because national conscription does not meet the objective and the economy can suffer. Thank you.
Of the people, by the people, and for the people. Ladies and gentlemen, that is what conscription is all about. It is constructed by the people, it is established by the people, and is for the safety of the people. Ladies and gentlemen, we stand on the motion today that this House will not end national conscription. As a member of the opposition, I shall go on to expand our arguments for this side of the House and rebut the previous speaker's arguments. Now, the previous speaker's arguments, let's rebut them. Now, there are two main points to the previous speaker's arguments. First of all, girding with securely, quality matters over quantity. Second point, the economy is detrimental. Well, we shall explain in our arguments further on. However, we shall rebut right now. Well, how do we improve the quality? We do not deny that quality is also important in an army. However, how can we improve the quality and the quantity at the same time? That is by continuing national conscription under the interest of all the citizens. And how shall we do that? Well, that we shall actually propose to you within the arguments. The second, economy. What about the 2 years? What about everything that we shall gain within the 2 years that the soldiers have to miss out? Well, just the 2 years. Well, 2 years. I guess there could be a lot of things done within 2 years. However, with the experience from the army, all the characteristics obtained from the army, we believe that there could be more benefits, more producive events happening because of the army. Moreover, we shall explain in our later arguments clearly why this is actually harmful to the economy and not beneficial. Now, going on to our arguments. Well, I, as a member of the opposition, is here to propose a policy that could be used to make conscription smoother and have less complaints from the citizens. Now, what the second government proposes today is, in order to make conscription more suitable, is to change some aspects of conscription, but still go on with national conscription. So what are the problems of conscription? As the government team has kindly proposed to us, the problems of conscription are, first, it goes against the freedom of the people. Second, it conflicts against the religions and the cultures of the people. Third, less quality. Well, the government also proposed a solution as volunteerism. However, do you think this will work? No, sirree, because, well, this is too idealistic. This is too idealistic. Do you think actually volunteers will keep on popping up from everywhere? No, thank you, sir. Popping up from everywhere because we provide more benefits for the soldiers? No. We have to change conscription in another way, and that is what we shall propose. Now, how shall we change the conscription? Well, we have to expand the range of conscription to other aspects, such as education, fitness, scientific developments, especially since the 21st century is all about science and technology, and weapons. It can be based on science and technology as well. Well, to fit the diverse interests of the people, we have gain both the quality and the quantity of the army, we shall have to allow them to use their interests to aid the government in army-related situations. So the people are satisfied. What happens? The quality increases because the people, they are within their interests. They're helping the army. They're helping the nation within their own interests. Yeah.
So, we would like to question what kind of social interest does a person have if he wants to shoot a gun and run around?
No, we're not saying that. I believe that you did not understand my policy at all, because we said we shall expand the range of conscription to education of strategy within the army, scientific developments. No, thank you, you're out of order. Scientific developments within the army. How shall we help the army? By having scientific developments in weapons, of course. Other things like that will actually help the army. Moreover, we shall also consider religious features during conscription and have them aid in another way. For instance, we're against killing. Some religions may be against killing. How shall we help out with that situation? Well, we can also expand the range of conscription to other army-related situations, such as medical help. That doesn't go against the policies of that religion. Moreover, about the freedom. Well, we're under a social contract here, as everyone who learns civics here knows. Well, since the government actually provides the safety and the responsibility of all the citizens, then the citizens should also give something back to them. In this case, this is army forces, and more. They should give some safety for those around them and the nation itself, and that is why we're under a social contract. That does not go against the freedom of us. That is irrelevant. Okay, now going on, in the last minute, we are to explain why this is actually detrimental to the economy. Even if you end conscription, there are no economic benefits. Instead, we have to use more money. For nation, in a sense, it has to lure the volunteers to the army with more benefits. Moreover, we shall have an example. What better example is there to compare our own army and the most influential country on earth, the United States? Let's look at them. Korea, 2.9% of all expenditure, $246 per capita used. The U.S., 3.0% used, $1,030 per capita used. It is optional. The U.S. Army is optional. I'll finish in a minute. And even though it is curious, because Korea is under more stress because of the separation of the countries. So you can see within this example clearly that there is more economic detriments in a non-conscription economy. So that is why we beg you to oppose the motion. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, and Madam and Mr. Speakers, it has been a long day, so let me start to finish off this debate under the motion that this House would end national conscription. First, I would like to summarize this debate through the main areas of clashes, 3 of which I have found. Then, I would like to point out the many logical fallacies and contradictions made by the opposing team, and then sum up our arguments to illustrate why we, the government, propose this motion and why this motion should stand. So let me go into my first point. Firstly, I would like to illustrate the 3 areas of clashes. The first one being money and cost. The opposition keeps arguing that the conscription army will cost less, and that ending national conscription and having a volunteer-based army will cost more. However, they are naively ignoring the fact that this is more effective, which we have continuously proven throughout the debate. Now, the second area of clash that I would like to identify is the quality of army. The opposition says, and with a false